Imagine your mind is a glass jar filled with river water. If you keep shaking the jar, the water will always be cloudy. You will never see clearly. This is the lesson James had to learn the hard way. James was 28 years old, and he was exhausted. He lived in a busy city where the lights never turned off and the noise never stopped. But the loudest noise was not outside his window. It was inside his head. James was a successful software developer, but he had a secret problem. He was an overthinker. His mind was constantly analyzing, worrying, and replaying the past. One night, the problem became unbearable. It was 3:00 a.m. The red numbers on his digital clock stared back at him. Tick, tick, tick. James lay in bed, staring at the ceiling shadows. His body was tired, but his brain was running a marathon. He was thinking about a small mistake he made at work 3 days ago. He was worrying about a meeting that was still 2 weeks away. He rolled over and buried his face in his pillow. "Stop it," he whispered to himself. "Just stop thinking." He squeezed his eyes shut and tried to force his brain to be quiet. But the harder he tried to fight his thoughts, the louder they screamed. It felt like a storm was raging behind his eyes. He fell asleep only when the sun began to rise, feeling defeated and broken. The next morning, James couldn't take it anymore. He needed to escape. He called in sick to work and walked out of his apartment. He walked past the honking cars and the rushing crowds until he found the only quiet place he knew, the old city park. In the corner of the park, there was a small wooden bench. Sitting there was an elderly man named Arthur. Arthur was the park gardener. He was known for his gentle smile and his slow, peaceful movements. Arthur was kneeling on the grass, holding a large glass jar filled with water and dirt. James walked up to him, looking tired and pale. "Good morning, Arthur," he said, his voice heavy. Arthur looked up. He saw the dark circles under James's eyes and the tension in his shoulders. He didn't say a word. Instead, he lifted the jar. "Watch this," Arthur said softly. He gave the jar a hard shake. The dirt from the bottom swirled up. The water turned brown and murky. Leaves and twigs spun around in a chaotic dance. It was a mess. "This is your mind right now, James," Arthur said. "It is cloudy. It is confused. Now, I want you to make the water clear again. Use your hands." James looked confused. He reached out and tried to steady the jar with his hands, hoping to stop the water from moving. But his trembling hands only shook it more. He tried to tap the glass to settle the dirt. It didn't work. "I can't," James said, frustrated. "Every time I touch it, it stays muddy." Arthur smiled. He took the jar from James and simply placed it on the solid wooden bench. "Now," Arthur whispered. "We do nothing." They sat in silence. James felt the urge to check his phone, to speak, to do something. But Arthur just watched the jar. Slowly, the magic happened. Because the jar was sitting still, the heavy dirt began to sink. The swirling chaos slowed down. The brown water started to brighten. Inch by inch, the mud fell to the bottom. After 10 minutes, the water was crystal clear. Arthur pointed to the jar. "Look, the water is clear, not because you forced it, but because you left it alone." He turned to James and spoke in a kind, low voice. "Your mind works the same way, my friend. You are trying to stop your thoughts by fighting them. You are shaking the jar, but you cannot find peace by force. You have to let the mud settle on its own." James stared at the clear water. For the first time in years, he felt a weight lift off his chest. He realized he didn't need to solve his anxiety. He just needed to stop stirring it up. A few weeks later, the big test came. At his office, a major computer system crashed. It was a disaster. People were shouting. Phones were ringing. His boss was pacing around the room, red-faced and panicking. The energy in the room was frantic. Everyone was shaking their jars. James felt the old familiar panic rising in his chest. His heart started to race. He wanted to scream. But then, he remembered the jar on the wooden bench. While his colleagues ran around in confusion, James stopped. He closed his eyes for just 10 seconds. He imagined the swirling mud in his mind. He didn't try to fix the panic. He didn't fight the fear. He just breathed and let it sink. When he opened his eyes, his mind was clear. He saw the solution instantly. He walked calmly to his computer, ignored the noise around him, and typed the code to fix the system. Within minutes, the crisis was over. The office went quiet. His boss looked at him with shock and respect. "How did you stay so calm?" he asked. James just smiled. He knew the secret now. Peace is not a place you go to. It is not a skill you have to learn. Peace is what remains when you stop disturbing your own mind. So, ask yourself today, are you shaking the jar? Are you trying to force an answer or force a feeling? Stop. Breathe. Put the jar down. Let the mud settle. Clarity is waiting for you, right underneath the noise.